order this meeting of Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners, meeting in our workshop session, Thursday, October 27th. Note that all commissioners are here with the exception of Commissioner Engel and Commissioner Fleming, both of whom are excused. I'd like to turn now to the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. And if everybody could, if they could say a prayer and give a thought to Barry Buskey, who passed away Saturday, George?
Sorry.
He's an awesome guy. He was a firefighter all his career. He was still a member of Progress, I believe, but he was a 20-year member of the statewide Firefighters Association. And at Commissioner Engel's appointment, he was a longtime member of our Recreation Advisory Board. Just a great guy, great sense of humor. He will be missed. So, with that, I have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by a moment of silence. And ask the pledge to be led tonight by Commissioner Napper.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome, everybody. I will note that we've got an executive session to discuss matters of real estate. Okay, Kat? I remember. Turning to our agenda. First up is petitions, complaints, and suggestions from citizens. Anybody wish to address the board tonight? Okay, hearing none. Turn next to recognitions and presentations. None at this point. We do have a resolution. It's 2022 R33, which is a resolution of Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners supporting the Pennsylvania Commission for the United States semi-quincentennial.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Let's call it America 250 PA. Okay, here we go. Mr. Propolka.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the board may recall hearing a presentation from Mr. Bill Minsker on August 25th, talking about the planned celebration for the committee that he's representing for the 250th anniversary, the birth date of these United States, the semi-quincentennial. Celebration is many years away, but the commission is starting to prepare for a series of events and celebrations commemorating that anniversary, and asking county-wide municipalities to adopt a resolution supporting their efforts. The board has a copy of the resolution this evening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Pine, seconded by Commissioner Napper. Any discussion or comments?
Just thanks to Bill Minsker, a longtime friend who was working on this, and it's good. Okay, it's an important celebration.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is Resolution 2022 R34, which is a resolution designated Friday, April 28th, 2023 as Arbor Day of Susquehanna Township. Mr. Pine.
Mr. President, I was just going to say, thanks in this case go really to Shade Tree Commission Board member Steve Drucker, who really is the one who came up with the concept and the idea and promoted designating this day and celebrating it to the extent of some tree planting, other activities. So thanks to Steve.
Very good. Anything you wanted to add?
Just that, this is kind of the first step in designating Arbor Day. As we get a little bit closer to the date, we'll begin planning for some event to commemorate Arbor Day in Susquehanna Township.
Very good. Thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Traffic study requests. Dave?
Mr. President, I'm not sure we got a motion on that last item.
We did.
We did? Okay.
It was moved and seconded.
No, I don't think it was. The first one was.
By who?
Who was it moved and seconded?
They don't think it was.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
I'm going to make a motion that we pass the resolution calling for Arbor Day.
Commissioner Pine, seconded by Commissioner Barcheck. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Traffic study request, 2500 block of Clayton Avenue. Roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the request of a resident, the 2500 block of Clayton Avenue was assessed to determine whether additional on-street parking prohibitions would meet warrants. The Susquehanna Township Police Department, led by Patrolman Benjamin Lauber, assessed the corridor at this time, while the street, along with many others, in fact, would meet parking prohibition warrants. It's recommended right now, based on assessing the community, talking to some of the residents there, that no further parking restrictions be added to the street. We are going to explore some pavement markings to help notify drivers that they can't park in conflict with some of the driveways that are along that stretch of road. So that's all that's being recommended at this time. Director Martin is unable to attend the meeting this evening, so if there are any questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to take them back to him and report back to the board at a later date. Thank you.
In that regard, I'd like to thank Chief Martin and the Police Department for doing this traffic study. I do agree with his additional recommendation to explore additional pavement markings to help with the driveway conflict issues that were raised. One further suggestion that I would have in reading the report is, as police monitor and drive that section of the Clayton, that if there are parking violations occurring, that they issue warnings and possibly ultimately traffic tickets if there's repeat offenders, to make sure that the problem is addressed, because that's the cleanest and simplest way to address when there's traffic violations or parking of that nature. So I would encourage them to look at that as well, but I do like the fact that he's suggesting a further study into additional pavement markings.
Okay. No action is required on this, right?
Correct.
Now, Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
before we leave the subject of traffic studies, there was a discussion at the last meeting regarding some potential traffic calming on Crooked Hill Road between Rockfall and Deer Path Road. And I'm just curious, has there been any follow-up by the chief or anybody on that? Do you know, Dave?
I have not heard an update, but I'll check with him when I touch base.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of stay on that and see what we can talk about doing there. I think there's a couple options that were discussed that may work out, but certainly want to get the chief's input and maybe another, I hate to say it, another study. But thank you.
Thanks, Commish.
Mr. President, if
Yes.
I may, on the subject of traffic studies, not so much that it requires a study, but if manager, if both of you could take this back to Chief Martin or the appropriate individual. I'm receiving a lot of complaints about cars parking too close to the curb and blocking the sight distance in primarily the 38 and 3900 blocks of 6th Street. There's not a lot of off-street parking there, so I guess folks are parking pretty close to the curb, and then others are having a hard time pulling out from the side streets and being able to see clearly. I know they may have contacted the township building asking about curb painting too, and I know that can only be done in certain weather, but maybe again if there's awareness brought to it and maybe some just traffic, just the police department, they can check out if people are parking too close to the curb, because they don't have to be painted for them to, just remind folks. Thank you.
Sure, we'll do, Commissioner.
Thank you. Anybody else have any traffic study issues? Great. Moving along. ordinances, resolutions, contracts, etc. This is resolution 2022 R35, approving the request of Eshok Dupree, sorry about butchering that, proprietor of Seashell Lounge and Cafe LLC to transfer restaurant liquor license R-16750.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board has with the agenda, copy of the resolution that would approve this intermunicipal liquor license transfer to the property, subject property, Shisha Lounge and Cafe. Board had a public hearing on October 13th to discuss the transfer. No objections were made at that hearing, and no public safety concerns were noted by Director of Public Safety Rob Martin. Staff is recommending the Board of Commissioners adopt a resolution authorizing the license transfer to the applicant's property this evening.
I believe that Mr. Ucredi's here, sir.
Yes, sir.
Could you come up to the microphone? Thanks. Mr. Ucredi, I had some conversations with your attorney, Mr. Sable,
Yes, sir.
and he indicated, represented to us, that you guys would be removing the 3 skill games from
Yes.
the establishment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got that up.
Yeah, we didn't, that was an intention, but now we.
Understood. That's great. So as long as that's clear on the record, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you. A motion is ordered.
In that case, I make a motion to approve that transfer.
Second.
And second. Any comments, questions? When are you looking at opening?
Hookah lounge, we already have it.
When are you looking at the alcohol side of it?
In, as long as it's approved, we're gonna start probably in January.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments, questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And one more question, I wanna wish you all a happy Diwali, that we are celebrating right now.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
You as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is resolution 2022 R36, approving the request of Val Bassman, sole proprietor of 99 Walnut Express, to transfer restaurant liquor license R18694. Mr. Pavolko.
Thank you, Mr. President. The board has a copy of the resolution approving this liquor license transfer. I suppose in lieu of going through that introduction again, I'll just say everything I said before, but replace Shisha Lounge with 99 Walnut Express. I don't know whether we have anybody on the Zoom representing the applicant property. I thought I saw somebody from the attorney's office, but perhaps they're not there anymore. Do you nuts?
There's a summer.
Summer, yeah.
Yeah.
She, I don't know whether she had anything to say, but.
We had a hearing, the hearing was concluded. Yep. They gave their testimony, so
Okay, is there a motion?
proceed.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments and questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Another resolution, 2022 R37, authorizing the township manager to execute a renewal agreement with Finishing Touch Cleaning Services for custodial service in township facilities.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution, as the preamble indicates, just authorizes the extension of the current contract the township has with Finishing Touch Cleaning Services for custodial and janitorial maintenance of the township building space, not just this facility, but also the Public Works building and several of our parks, restrooms, and facilities. Staff has been very pleased with the level of service and the price, so the recommendation is for a 2-year contract beginning January 1 of next year and expiring December 31st, 2024. Thank you.
Move to adopt resolution 2022 R37.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Warcheck, seconded by Commissioner Knapp. Any questions or comments? Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Another resolution, 2022 R38, providing for the manager to execute an audit agreement extension with Selenkowski Axelrod for the Susquehanna Township audit.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution, as again the preamble indicates, would authorize the extension of the township's current engagement with Zelenkowski Axelrod, the firm that conducts the audit of the township. The authority is done by a separate entity. Current agreement expires at the end of this year. There is the recommendation is to extend that agreement by 1 year. Just a reminder that not only do they do the audit for the township, but they've also been managing compliance with the American Rescue Plan Act funds for the township. So it's a good service we get for that, and the recommendation is to adopt the resolution. Thank you.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hisbro, seconded by Commissioner Colonna.
I didn't see that motion made.
I think you missed it by one more.
Oh, darn. Go down to two.
Rocky was.
Commissioner Rockrock.
Give me the next one.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Another resolution, 2022 R39, authorizing the township manager to execute an agreement with YSM Inc. for park master planning at Lakewood Hills Park. Mr. Canales.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Recreation Advisory Committee interviewed 3 total candidates for the master plan for Lakewood Hills. They conducted those interviews during the October meeting. At that point, they recommended YSM Landscape to perform that master plan service for us, which will include looking at the existing structure on the property, multiple public participation methods, open house surveys and so forth, to identify the best uses for the site and look at potential trail connections to the Veterans Park Trail as well.
Mr. President, also move adoption of the resolution authorizing our township manager to execute the agreement with YSM Inc. for park master planning at Lakewood Hills Park.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hisbro, seconded by Commissioner Colonna. Doug, what's the cost? I think it's in there somewhere. Just don't recall.
It's $64,560. We had anticipated around $70,000.
And what's their timeline for completion?
It's probably going to take 10 to 12 months. We'll probably start right after the first of the year. We've still got to identify candidates and reach out to individuals for the steering committee.
I'll add to that, the 3 proposals, they were relatively very close in terms of price. And this one, though, if my recollection is correct, was the lowest one as well. Is that correct, Doug?
Yeah, that was correct. It was only $4,000 between the 3 candidates.
Okay, any other comments?
Just quickly, I'm really glad to hear you talking about the public input session and so forth. Because I know for a fact that Commissioner Engel would certainly mention this if he were here, that some of the neighbors close to which would have had issues with vehicles and coming and going and parking, a lot of issues. So, whatever the use, it's good to have that local input. So, thank you.
And when we plan those, we'll have direct mailing directly to them to invite them to various meetings.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comments, questions?
Yes, so I commend the leadership of Doug here and also the members of the RAC for really being thorough with all the 3 candidates, and really we couldn't be more happy with the selection because the YSM really took the time to visit the site and really have a feel of that, and they made us really feel that they're really interested in doing a great job for us.
Cool. Anybody else? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the authorizing the secretary to execute a revised sewage facility planning module for Chick-fil-A in Susquehanna Township, and this is resolution 2022 R40.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Commissioner Knapp. Betsy, do we have a timeline on this project when they're going to get rolling on it?
I think they're waiting on their highway occupancy permit and their sewage planning module to be
accepted before they would be able to submit permits.
Okay. Have they taken care of their grease trap obligations?
They're actually putting in a larger grease trap than what is required.
Okay, good.
So I think they're putting 2 in, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution. Authorizing the submission, this is resolution 2022 R41, authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, 902 Recycling Program Municipal Grant. Ms. Logan, Assistant Township.
This is a resolution for the township to apply for a new wood chipper. It'd be a 15-inch wood chipper, so it could grind up to branches that are 15 inches diameter. Currently, Penn Waste will only accept up to 16 inches, and Dig My Earth will accept up to 4 inches in diameter. Our existing chipper takes up to 8 inches, but it's over 30 years old, so this would be a grant to trade that in and get a new one. We'd also be trading in a sweeper that we should have traded in, I think, in the last grant round. But the total cost after trade-ins for the wood chipper is $72,500, and the township is responsible for 10% of that. And it is a reimbursable grant.
Moved by Commissioner Israel. Second. Second by Commissioner Israel. Any comments or questions? When do we anticipate getting a chipper?
Generally, they'll award the grants. Their grant round was delayed. It's usually like March, April. They didn't open it up until September. It's due tomorrow. So we would get all the paperwork from them if we get the grant. So I would anticipate getting it for at least maybe mid-2023.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We've been working on putting together a draft budget, and just to give a sneak preview of that, and we're going to be doing a more formal presentation at our November meeting, but Walt is here to just give us some highlights and what to expect as we get towards that crazy time of year.
It's like a little aperitif or an amuse-bouche. Thank you. I just have a couple, very cultured. Just a couple of quick slides to run through, and Doug will kind of steer the ship here, but go ahead to the next slide if you could. And I want to thank the members of the Budget and Finance Committee, and certainly all of the leadership here at the township, commissioners, staff, for the tremendous amount of work that's gone into presenting the draft that you have in front of you this evening. I did print out a revised draft for all the commissioners that you have, and we're going to get a copy of it up on the website. But just to touch on some of the highlights that you'll find within the budget, and it is an ambitious budget. There's a lot that we have slated to accomplish next year, and it's going to be an exciting year for the township. We have several park master plans and a comprehensive bike pedestrian plan that's in the works. Completion of a fire study to begin to identify the future threats and opportunities to fire service in Susquehanna Township. Starting the development of a rental housing program to begin to address some of the property maintenance and tenant landlord issues that have emerged in recent years. A robust and ambitious pavement management program that in November the board will receive an update on the most recent pavement assessment done by HRG. So we're going to use that to begin to inform our capital investments in the coming years to help bring some of our roads into a better standard. Construction of a new public works storage facility to begin to get some of our equipment out of the elements and extend the useful life. The research and implementation of a new accounting software to replace our current package that is out of date. Several pieces of capital equipment are proposed, including 4 new police cruisers, 2 trucks for the public works department, and a new street sweeper that will be shared with the Susquehanna Township Authority as part of our stormwater management program. Next is a update renovation, a smaller renovation than what we had here in the administration side of the building, to the police department to again modernize it and accommodate the need for future space. Completion of the zoning and subdivision land development ordinance rewrite, and the introduction of a few new funds, or at least one new fund and two new funds in terms of their placement within the budget document. One is a transportation improvement fund. This is a brand new fund, which is sort of a segregated pool of money that can be used to finance capital projects for roads and other transportation networks. I think by including this in the budget, the board will be in a better position to fund those projects in future years by earmarking some appropriation for capital projects. The American Rescue Plan Act fund is just a way to better account for the use of those dollars. And the Developers Recreation Fund, which has always been a fund maintained by the township and audited appropriately, is now worked into the operating budget document as well, so that board members and staff can kind of be able to see, and residents as well, how that fund interplays with the other investments that we're making in culture and recreation. One of the highlights in this budget, I think anyway, is that there are no proposed tax increases or increases in special assessments, so that's acknowledgement to the hard work that the board put into developing this document and maintaining a good financial bottom line by utilizing some of the fund balance that you've accrued over recent years. Next slide, please. So some amendments that came in the wake of Tuesday's Budget and Finance Committee meeting. There's a reduction in the membership fees for professional consortiums. While we will join the Pennsylvania Municipal League in 2023, there's no cost to that membership in the first year, and that also gets the township's membership, which we've always had, in the Public Employer Labor Relations Advisory Service. Next is a reduction in the utility fee expense, which was just an error in how that data was input, to $15,000 from approximately $80,000. The addition of some funding to replace benches and trash receptacles in township parks, a modification of the appropriation for the tree planting project in township parks because we were able to get that at a much lower cost than we had originally estimated. And then since we met on Tuesday, we moved some transfers from the general fund to transfers from the ARPA fund, the American Rescue Plan Act fund, to help shore up that fund balance in the general fund, reduce the deficit projected, and make sure that we're using those dollars for eligible projects. This is just the revenue summary at a glance. As you can see, general fund revenue we predict will be down from the 2022 figures, but that is largely attributable to the American Rescue Plan Act fund. We got our second tranche in 2022, and of course we don't anticipate getting another one in 2023, although it would be a very nice surprise if we did. So otherwise, revenue is holding steady, in fact increasing across most funds. Many of those are driven by interfund transfers, but you can see that at a glance there. And next slide. And there's our expenditure summary. Again, expenditures are tracking pretty steadily from 2022 to 2023. In fact, there's a slight reduction in proposed expenditures in this upcoming year's budget. Otherwise, largely remaining stable. You'll see the new funds that appear in that slide as well. General fund balance, just to update on that, we had initially predicted an approximately $2.3 million deficit, just to kind of run through the numbers in the general fund. At the end of the year 2021, fiscal year 21, the unassigned general fund balance as audited was just north of $7.6 million. After the projected deficit in 2022 of just under $800,000, we're left with a projected 2022 year-end general fund balance of $6,169,661, give or take. So with the projected deficit in the 2023 general fund budget of just under $1.4 million, that will leave us with a remaining year-end projected 2023 general fund balance of $5.5 million. So really what I'm saying is, with the budget that's presented to you as is, there is a deficit, we'll need to dip into general fund unassigned balance to the tune of about $1.4 million, but we will still have a significant healthy reserve at year-end 2023. And of course, we anticipate through efficiency of operation and economies of scale, being able to improve upon the projected expenditures throughout the year. I believe that is my last slide. I will present this to you all, as President Lynch indicated, at the first meeting in November for a adoption of the proposed budget, and then the final adoption would be presented in December. I can answer any questions you may have.
Do you have any questions or comments that you think? Carl?
I'll give more opportunity.
I just, you credited the commissioners, I guess, with, a well-done budget document, but we would have to credit staff and the work you all have done on this is really appreciated. A lot of hours, I know. Thank you.
It was very impressive document, reading through it.
Anybody else before we move on? All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Authorization, next up is authorization to advertise Wood Park Phase 2 development for bid. Mr. Knaus?
Thank you, Mr. President. After the initial bids were rejected, we met with Commissioner Rothrock, Commissioner Palone, and Commissioner Hisaro to look at ways that we could possibly come up with a better plan in terms of cost moving forward. And we've come up with 4 items that we're looking to change in the upcoming bid. Those would be the removal of the permanent fishing dock and replace it with a bid alternate for the installation of a floating dock system, where the township would purchase the floating dock system on state contract or the CoStars program. Remove an approximately 500-foot long fence on the north side of the property along the townhouses. They've actually requested for that fence not to be installed now. Eliminate a large section of boardwalk that would complete the loop. But what we are going to propose is we bring the existing, or the new trail up to the existing sidewalk along Continental, and use a short section of that sidewalk to get us back to the starting point in the park, and which the park already culminates and ends at the sidewalk currently. And then the final piece would be, as a bid alternate, would be the a spur section of the loop trail that would go out to North Progress. That would be listed as an alternate, just due to the possible construction costs for that. It required a large retaining wall. So if the bids come in acceptable and we can work that alternate in, we would do so. If not, we could maybe look at that down the road in the future. So at this point, we're looking for a approval from the board to rebid the project, and hopefully first part of next year. Alex, maybe get going.
Sure.
I move that we authorize the advertising of this with those changes.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Mr. President. Item number 2, we installed that 500-foot fence?
No, we have not installed it yet.
Removed it. It says,
When they
it
say
says
remove it, it was in the
the
We're
project.
going to remove it
bid
out of the
to
bid
put it
from the
in.
specs. So we're moving it from the
Hold on,
specs.
one person answer.
We're going to remove them from the specs, and we're not asking for a fence to be installed now.
Okay,
So it won't even show up in the specs.
very good, thank you.
Yeah, and as to the moving the trail, having the trail go up to the sidewalk and over to the entrance of the park, that removes a very lengthy pedestrian bridge. There's quite a drop off there, and there's a difference in height from the one side of the stream to the the other. So to keep a handicap accessible slope on that is going to make a very long pedestrian bridge. So that was one of the, we sat down and looked at, okay, what are the big ticket items here? Because we're afraid, you know, if we rebid it, we're going to get a number that we're not going to be able to work with. So the two alternates give us the opportunity to get sort of a core bid, which I feel pretty confident will come in within our budget, and then we'll see how the alternates bid out. And we can do, you know, as Doug said, we can always, you know, the main thing for me was to get the loop completed, some benches and some of the other amenities that are going to really make it a beautiful park. And if we have to, you know, put that bridge in later, or, you know, the one trail extension of the Progress, you know, we could probably do that later. So it was a good meeting. Everybody had good ideas, and it didn't take long either. So I was pretty happy with the result of that.
Thank you, Mr. Brick.
So good. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is preliminary final subdivision plan 4716 and 4720 Pine Ridge Road. Ms. Lloyd, Assistant Township Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an application for preliminary final lot addition plan for the purpose of adding a 3,899 square foot triangle of land from Lot 1, which is 4720 Pine Ridge Road, to Lot 2. The project is located in the R1 medium density residential zoning district. This is to correct a issue with a shed that was built on the wrong property. So, Planning Commission reviewed the waiver request for preliminary plan and the plan at their meeting on September 19th and recommended approval of both the waiver and the plan.
Okay, is there a motion on the waiver request?
I move that we approve the waiver for preliminary plan procedure.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And is there a motion on the plan itself?
Yes, I'll move that we approve the preliminary final subdivision plan.
Moved by Commissioner Rothrock,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fenoglio. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is certification of civil service list. Mr. Promulka.
Thank you. The board has these civil service test results with your agenda this evening. The board's requested to approve the same.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Pine and Israel. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, authorization to sell emergency backup generator for $1,100. And item number 2, authorization to extend a conditional offer of employment to Mang for the Susquehanna Township Police Department. After motion and second, board members are free to ask any questions and comments they wish. So is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded, Pine and Paloma. Any comments or questions on either item? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now it's time for commissioner comments.
Mr. President, prior to commissioner comments, Commissioner Hisro had asked about the status of the cases involving the property and the mulch pile. My staff could never sleep, so they're not allowed to, sent me the recipe for dismissal. These cases were dismissed in September. I forwarded them to your email. So, all
Can you
done.
copy me on that too?
It's already done.
A rock star.
It's done a really good staff. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Taken care of and sent to everyone.
Very good. Anybody else wish to carry forward? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Who's that seconded? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
carries.